big story in WNBA right now. The Washington Mystics.
Yes.
Our hometown team here wins the draft lottery. Natasha Cloud was the representative. She had her lucky watch on. Honestly, when I heard Natasha Cloud was going to be there, I was like, oh, it might be on. It might be on for the Mystics. Yeah. But what was your initial reaction to the Mystics winning the draft lottery? And then we'll get into what they should do with the pick.
Oh, man. First of all, I was losing my mind because as Mike Thibault, the head coach and general manager of the Washington Mystics, said on that night, was that he remembers when they had the 3-C and the Mystics picked 4th with Taylor Hill out of Ohio State. And the first 3 were Brittany Griner, Elena Deladon, and Skylar Diggins-Smith. And at the time it was Diggins, but whatever. But listen, I remember that moment and how shocked she was having the highest percentage chance to get the number 1 pick, and not just having the highest percentage and then getting number 2. You got the highest percentage chance and you got number 4 in the 3-C draft back in a couple of years ago. So this was very satisfying in that regard, because I was there and suffered through that moment with Sheila Johnson, Dr. Sheila Johnson, and she's with the Washington Mystics as chief operating officer. But I just think that, and owner, I just think that, it was really exciting to see Tosh, and I videoed the moment, and I didn't think it would be viewed as many times as it was viewed, but I was honestly like in that moment, like, okay, it's down to 2. I was like, let's go, Bethany Donovan. What are you pulling out of there? Yeah. And man, they pulled out Indiana Fever, which is also great for Marianne Stanley, who's the head coach at Indiana. I was also with Washington for years as a head coach, was coach of the year in 2002 with the Washington Mystics, and obviously on board as associate head coach when they won the championship and many years around that championship. But I just thought that it was incredible to see the energy of Natasha Cloud when she knew that Washington got that number 1 pick. It was an amazing moment for the city, I think, as well. Yeah. And I mean, we didn't have the parade yet for the 2019 championship. So every little thing that happens that is great for this team is super exciting. And I know Mike Thibault, you could see his smile was ear to ear. Yeah. And I just thought it was a great night for the city of DC and the DMV.
It's about time that the Mystics got some luck on their side, right? It has been a tough stretch since that 2019 title with, COVID taking out the parade. Then the next season, they didn't have Tina Charles and Elena Deladon. Then next year, Elena Deladon comes back for 3 games and she's hurt. And then during those 3 games, Tina Charles was hurt. It was just like, it's just been so frustrating. In such a long, it felt long and a tough road for the Washington Mystics. Yeah. So maybe this is the start of things turning around. Like maybe this is the start of the luck turning around, the injury luck, the draft luck. I think with this pick, they have a chance to set themselves up for the future, or they could set themselves up for the present. Because this team still has championship aspirations for now. Mike Thibault mentioned it, that he's not going to be coaching forever. So the question is, should they trade the pick or should they keep the pick?
I mean, first of all, I'm glad I'm not a GM.
No. All right. Do you want me to answer first, though? I know I always make you answer first. So
no, you go ahead, because I have my ideas, but I'm also weighing things. So you go ahead and answer.
I'll push you in one direction. I think they should absolutely keep this pick. To me, like, it's just like, if there's someone you can get that's a superstar, if you could trade this pick to Seattle Storm for a core designated Brianna Stewart or a core designated Jewel Lloyd, go for it. You're never going to regret trading for a player like that, or, some other players that I don't even know if they're available, or if I don't know, whatever. Who cares? If there's a superstar player I'm talking about, then maybe think about it. Because then maybe that makes your team so much better. However, to me, this team needs the next 10 years of the Mystics. Because if things go as planned, they're not going to be back in the draft lottery for a long time, right?
Right.
That's what happened with Elena Deladon. They got Elena Deladon, and then they were out of the draft lottery. So they haven't had this sort of really high level pick, and they've done amazing with the picks they've had. I just think right now, if you see a star in this draft, and personally, I do see a potential star in Rhyne Howard. I see another potential star in NaLyssa Smith, and we can get into that a little bit too.
Yeah.
But if you see a player that has even like a 15% chance of becoming a superstar on the level of an Alea Deladon or any of the other players we talk about in this league, you got to go get them now, because this may be the last chance you really have to get a player that sets you up for the next great iteration of the Mystics, which is probably not going to include players like Natasha Cloud and Alea Deladon or Tiana Charles. Like those players, by the time this franchise going into the next phase, are not going to be here. So I think now's the time to grab players. To me, there's like very little that would make me even think about trading this pick.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree. And I think that with Washington having that number one pick and the ability to choose their fate, I love that. And they are totally in control. I don't think they will entertain trading it. I wouldn't trade it. I would, look at what is coming out of this year's collegiate group. Yeah. And I think they are very strong and very pro ready. You were talking about NaLyssa Smith. I think that she is really a great complementary piece for what Washington likes to do. I know she's only, before the three that she hit the other night in that game, I think that she had only attempted 4 threes in her entire career up to that point. So I know that she plays great defense. And I know that Mike Thibault loves 3-and-D players. She's
just the D part though, because she doesn't do the 3 part.
Doesn't do the 3, but she does mid-range and in though very, very, very efficiently. I love that Tiana Charles wasn't a 3 player either coming into the league, but now she is. So it's something that she can continue to work on and add to her game. So we're not going, we'll maybe count her out initially, but not for the long haul, big picture of what she could develop into. And she made that 3, by the way, in that game.
She doesn't have a bad stroke. It's slow, but it's not terrible. But
she was
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. She was wide open, but she hit it. So, it's something I think that will continue to develop for NaLyssa Smith. But I love Rhyne Howard. I know, in a couple games, she was kind of MIA in terms of dominating the game, which as a number 1 pick, you want to see players. And again, I'm falling back on my word of consistency. That's the word of the day. Can you be consistently dominant? And yes, we know what you can do, but it can't just be on a random Tuesday. Like you have to be able to sustain that level, knowing that you're going to draw the best defenders. And in spite of that, dominate the game. And when the team needs you to step up and be that player, win or lose, right? Like you want to see that in your top picks. So I think Washington should for sure keep the pick. Who they choose, I think, is going to be very interesting because Mike Thibault said we have a lot of questions that need to be answered. And one of those is Emma Miesemann. Yeah. Does Emma Miesemann return? And what does that do to the salary cap? What does that do to what the roster looks like and the rotations? I just think it's going to be very interesting for Washington in the next couple months. And they have a lot of choices to make, but I think it's predicated on decisions by players that are being made also.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there are some juniors that could probably come out. I don't know. It's the draft system's so weird.
Like COVID. Yeah.
Well, it's not even COVID. Like it's not even COVID. It's like you have to be on schedule to graduate. And like, I don't keep track of all of these players like credits. So I don't know who can graduate this year.
Right.
But I think that so a couple of things I want to respond to and what you were saying. So first off, you said she'd be complimentary to what the Mystics are doing. I think Richard Cohen brought this up in her Hoop Stats Slack that I don't view this pick as a player that should be complimentary to what the Mystics are doing. This is a player that is replacing whatever the Mystics are doing in the future. Because this, again, I'm talking about 10-year time frame here that I'm thinking about.
Right.
Look, Alea Deladon's great and she's healthy. That's amazing. She's still 32, 33 with back problems. So she's not going to be around forever. Natasha Cloud's getting up there. Like there are players that are getting up there. So I don't need someone who complements what we're doing now. I need someone who's going to dominate what we do in the future. And with a player like Ariel Atkins, who hopefully will be here for a very long time, with players that are coming up in this system. So to me, I'm not looking for complementary. And that's why I think NaLyssa Smith will not be the Mystics pick. If they trade the pick, she may be the first overall pick. But if the Mixes have that pick, it will not be NaLyssa Smith because of Mike Thibault's belief. And I've heard him say this on the Basketball Immersion podcast like 2 years ago, that he wants offensive players. He wants players that are more developed offensively in the draft because it's easier to teach a great offensive player to be good on defense than teach a good defensive player how to be great on offense. It's a much steeper route to go on the player that has defensive, good defensive play in college to being a great offensive player. And he wants great offensive players. So that's why I think Rhyne Howard makes a ton of sense, because she's already developed offensively. She already has all the tools that are there. So now it's just about developing that mentality, right? That everyone has mentioned this mentality in all of the mock drafts, right? That, oh, we don't know if she's mentally ready. Guys, if this is her not mentally into it, I want this player. She's averaging 18 points per game. It's like whenever she touches the ball, it's electric. It's great to watch. So I need her to touch the ball more. Sure. I need her to go get the ball more. But if this is her with a low motor, give me that player. Because then when she gets to the pros, I can help your motor. I can help your motor, right? Like I can push you to give you the right things to make you better. But I can't give you the skills that she has offensively. I love NaLyssa Smith, but I just don't think she's the type of player that Mike Thibault drafts.
I hear you.
Okay.
And I disagree. I don't know. And I know Mike Thibault loves offense and the ability to put the ball in the basket. What are NaLyssa Smith's numbers as compared to Rhyne Howard?
I mean, they're awesome, but she doesn't shoot. She doesn't shoot. I'll get
pretty darn good. Yeah, she's pretty darn good. But I know the game that I saw, and I try to watch as many games as I can. Trust me and believe me, and live or otherwise. And the last game I saw with Rhyne Howard, it was on TV. I know Debbie Antonelli was on the call. It was the Louisville game. And Gabe, man, she disappeared in that game. And I love Rhyne Howard. So Ryan, and Kentucky fans, I'm not shading her. That game, she did not step up.
Fair enough.
And I don't think that was due to a low motor. She just wasn't stepping up. I don't think it was for lack of effort. She just didn't. And that to me, I mean, it's a what have you done for me lately situation. And NaLyssa Smith was killing in their last game against Michigan. And I mean, and I know they lost. I get it. Baylor lost that game to Michigan, Michigan's first top 10 win in the history of their program. But she was a problem. Like they had the best match. I love that Naz Hillman and NaLyssa Smith were matched up at times. Yeah. It was just a great battle. And she stepped up to that. And they lost the game, but she stepped up to that. So I don't know. For me, I mean, if you can put the ball in the basket on a consistent basis, I think Rhyne Howard is tremendous. And her 3-point range, it probably gives her the edge for what Mike Thibault likes in players, to be able to be a 3 and D. But man, I don't know. I mean, I don't think they can go wrong with either one. And I know I ride the fence sometimes, but I just think with the size that NaLyssa Smith presents, the rebounding ability, she can defend multiple positions because she has great feet. I just think that is also an invaluable asset for her on the defensive side, to be able to rotate defensively, which Mike Thibault also likes to do.
Yeah. Well, I think Rhyne Howard is switchy too, though. All right. So here's my theory. Guys. Here's my theory. Okay. Because our problem, I think, collectively as a WNBA community, I mean, as a women's basketball community, generally, right, with Rhyne Howard, is that we see the whole thing, right? Like this is the Brittany Griner problem, is like you see a player that's so great that you think they should be putting up 30 points a game and it should be so easy. And to her credit, like you said, NaLyssa Smith does do that pretty often. Because though, this is why I think NaLyssa Smith's able to be more dominant. She goes down to the post and then she plays in the post. And typically she's playing against good teams. She has been playing against good teams. So they believe they have a post that can cover her, right? So, and then when you double into the post, it's much easier for her to just kick out 2, 3, right? It's harder to deny her the ball generally because then you're giving up threes to a team that shoots pretty well. The guards shoot pretty well, or they can figure out something. So my theory with Rhyne Howard is she gets so much attention before she even touches the ball that it's harder for her team to get the ball to her. I think her being a player that wants to win, she's saying, well, if I just stand over here and take people with me, my team's going to do better. And it's true at times. The team does play kind of better when she's just taking over attention. So I think that's like my theory as to why it happens. Cause I don't see, it's not like Rhyne Howard's like getting the ball and then passing it. She's like, there's just some possessions where she just doesn't touch the ball. So I don't know if that's, the coach is having to tell her to get the ball more, or if that's her having to ask for the ball more, or if it's my theory that just as a perimeter player, if you're the central focus of a defense, it's much harder for you to touch the ball than it may be for a post player who is just so physically dominant that she can get anything she wants.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, if I have to tell a kid to go get the ball, then that's not saying much for their motor. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm speaking as a coach. Like if I have to say, go get the ball, like I shouldn't have to tell a kid with a high motor to go get it.
I guess.
Like if they're, hey, they're smothering me, I'm just going to stand here. And I've seen this as a coach. I've seen this in our top players. They're just like, well, I'm just going to take this defender with me then and stand here.
Right.
And not go get the ball. And I'm like, you're doing what they want you to do. I'm like, fight for the ball, go get it. We'll get you some pin downs. Like you need to touch the ball. Like, I don't care if you shoot it, but a player like Rhyne Howard or any top player, they've got to get a touch, period. Whether they shoot it or not. You can't take yourself out. That's what they want you to do. Like, oh, good. She's not even going to get the ball. And if I have to like shake a kid's shoulders and say, hey, you got to go get that. Like, do you want the ball? Right. It's a want to, not have to. If I have to tell you, then it's like, oh, coach is telling me I have to go get the ball. I shouldn't have to do that. It should be, I want the ball. I'm gonna find a way to get it. Hey, come get me a pin down. Tell your teammates, get me open because they are sitting in my face. Get them off me so I can go get a touch. Or I'm going to get to the offensive glass. Or I'm going to get in the gap and get a live ball steal and go the other way. There are ways to get yourself a touch. But if the coach has to manufacture how to get that done by connecting the dots, here you go, little Sally. Here you go, little Johnny. This is how you go get the ball. Like, no. Like, you're at this level now. Like, that should be a given. You should want the ball. I don't care. Like, even if you have to break a play, like, excuse me, and get your leg over top of somebody, pop out and get the ball and rip it around and seat belt it and go attack the basket and get fouled. My God. Don't get me going. I can go on.
No, well, here's my thing, though.
I don't like having to beg somebody to get the basketball. Well, if you want to play.
What you're reminding me of, though, is Ariel Atkins in her first couple of years here. She was kind of passive offensively, and then she had great players around her, and that's where I think Rhyne Howard fits in. She's going to have great players around her. She doesn't need to be one of those players to get the ball, and she can learn how to be a go-to player like Ariel Atkins did. Like, I believe much more personally, just from everything I've read. I don't know, I have like inside sources here, but like, I believe in the Mystics' mental development a lot. I think they're really bought into the entire mental aspect of player training, and they've really done that. And Natasha Cloud has talked about this often. So has Ariel Atkins. Like, it's really helped them become better players. I believe in that mental development a little bit more than I believe in them taking a player who doesn't fit into their offense and making them fit.
Right.
With a player like Tina Charles, I don't know if it's fair to start comparing NaLyssa Smith to Tina Charles, right? So Tina Charles came in and she's one of the greatest players I've ever seen. So she can do, I trust you, you could trust her to do it. So I just don't, I think to me, that's why I'm going with that. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about this.
Okay, we will. We do.
Now we have a good debate though. Now I know I got to research to win this debate. We'll see. Let us know if you agree in the comments or whatever. I should tell everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hopefully that means I'll put it up on YouTube.